So Venerable Chödrön has been teaching on this text the last few teachings before she left for Mexico. She was speaking on impermanence. And it brought to mind a realization that I've had recently. I'm sure it's just because of aging, but also because of the time that we spent this winter doing some of the meditation or establishments of mindfulness on the body, looking at the impermanence and of the body in terms of all the things that are changing all the time. So it's an interesting thing to contemplate, not just the big picture, this body is changing, but that at this very moment there's digestion going on at one rate, there's blood flow going on at another rate, there's breathing going on at another rate, there's marrow being produced at another rate, there are nerve firings going off at another rate. I mean, you can just examine whatever you remember from biology or 8th grade health class, all the different processes that are going on at the body at the same time. All of them changing moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. So it's not just that the body changes, but that all these parts are changing too. And so the thought that I've had about the value of looking at impermanence is that that there's another level, you know, that we are taught again and again and again to remember our death, for it comes so quickly. And that's what spurs us on to our practice. And that's a very precious. I think we couldn't look at it too much. But the thing that I realized that I have not paid much attention to in my meditation is the deterioration. And that is a different meditation. So as there are many friends that we have right now whose parents are in their 80s and 90s, and they're suddenly giving up things they never thought they'd have to give up. Not just their car keys, which is kind of the classic example of the middle-aged child fighting with the parent because it's time to stop driving, but giving up control over everything, even the bodily functions. Giving up, I mean, allowing someone else to say, you know, you're not thinking so clearly about this right now, which is something that I had to deal with this winter just in being sick. So it's important for our practice also, not so much on the level of it making us, well, I'm not going to say that. Thinking about death and impermanence is part of what spurs us to really want to make every day meaningful, because we don't know when it's coming. And I think this meditation on deterioration really helps us look at what we let go of, how we can let go day after day after day, to take some time to look at what are the things we hang on to, what are the identities that make us think who we are, what are the things that we think are so important that we'll fight over, when soon we're going to give up anyway. We're going to lose completely control over these sorts of things. So one thing I was talking with Venerable Jampa this morning about is this quality of acceptance. We talked about it recently here. Oh, I talked about it on Sunday. That a big part of Dharma practice, or coming to be able to accept that the Buddha was telling the truth, is to look at what he said and then accept it. And you know, I don't see this acceptance as a mental factor. I don't see it as a virtuous quality on the list of virtuous qualities, but it is definitely as an important point in our process where we look at the Four Noble Truths. The more we meditate on them, we have to realize that indeed samsara is dukkha. Indeed, the suffering of pain is definitely the suffering of pain, but our joy and happiness is also the dukkha of change, and our very existence is the pervasive compounded dukkha. And the more we accept that, then we can practice. The more we accept the fact that things are impermanent, then we can practice. The more we accept that this beautiful thing, well, one time probably, but is really foul, then we can practice with it. The more that we can accept that everything that we're grasping for pleasure, for happiness, is really in the nature of dukkha, the more we can practice with it. And the more we accept that things are empty of having an intrinsic nature, the more we can practice. So I think this acceptance, really, in terms of meditating on one's own deterioration, it all falls under this idea of accepting this is the situation. This is where we are. This is what's happening moment by moment. And I know for myself, a huge part of my pain every day comes in fighting with what is. So it's just a reminder. We've all heard this and we all know this, but this practice of accepting it is what it is, what it is, what it is, helps keep our mind more stable, and then provides a sort of a place in which the other antidotes or the other ways of applying the Dharma can really take root and change our experience in the situation. So think about that.